Welcome back, everybody. My name is Poison Ducky, and this is going to be a total Warhammer 2 replay. It's been a little bit. I'm actually in Spain right now, and I'm recording. I have a little extra time between my little vacation here, mainly like just a few hours, because I am tired, exhausted. It is hot. It's like 90 degrees over here, and we've been walking around like for the past few days, and getting used to the time change is pretty tough. So let's go into the introduction of my army while we're at it. I'm going to be playing as, this is a mirror match, I'm going to be playing as the Cult of Sotek, which is just a Lizardmen faction that's like smaller, versus the normal Lizardmen over here. Now, leading me, since I'm using the Cult of Sotek, it can't be anyone else other than the mighty Tenawan. And his little meme plaque, which is quite amazing. He's going to be on the... Now, this is what makes this replay special. He's going to be on his mount, the Ancient Stegodon, with the... Oh, man. I love this thing. I love this. It's the Engine of the Gods. It's so, and not just one. I have 2 Stegodons with Engine of the Gods. So that's 4 orbital laser cannons, which is going to be quite nice. And I have the Star Chamber Guardians, which is the Regiment of Renown Temple Guard, which slightly better stats and magical attacks. But the real thing that makes this unit so strong is that it gives, let me just select it real quick, Guardian, plus 15% physical resistance to all your heroes and leaders. So that's going to be very useful. I use this so that they can't snipe 10-1 with like artillery of some sort, although obviously they don't have artillery that's physical. My front line over here is going to be just a bunch of skink cohorts with javelins, very spread out in a very wide line. It's going to be 5 of them in total, and on each flank is going to be skink skirmishers, just the normal variety. Costs just as much as this normal skink cohort, but what I really like is all their projectiles have poison damage. And of course, I have to bring the Regiment around the cohort of Sotek. Honestly, this is one of the most cost-efficient units in the game. It's a little, honestly, might be a little too powerful, because every single game they do very well. Even if they don't get kills, they just bottleneck so many enemy units for being, since they're unbreakable. And of course, just in case the enemy had large units, I have 2 units of Cold 1 Spear Riders. These are my anti-large spear cavalry. They do have the ability to rampage, but that's okay. And I really like the Cult of Sotek. I really like that my skinks are bright green, and it makes me feel special. And over my enemy's army, this is going to be fairly simple. He went super elite. 3 units of Temple Guard. Okay, that's one of them being the Regiment Renowned Star Chamber Guardians, just like I do. He's going to have Lord Mazdamundi on a Ancient Stegodon, and Lord Croak. So that's 2 wizards. So he's going to have the access to the lore of like light, I believe, and Lord Croak has like a special lore, but I guess it's like a branch of the lore of light, and where he can just damage everybody. His range power is going to have an Ancient Salamander. Oh god! So this thing has been heavily nerfed since in this patch, so not nearly as powerful, but against my army composition, still very powerful. A Feral Stegodon, assuming he just had some extra funds, and it has a chevron too. And the Regiment Renowned Colossadon Hunters, the Ripidactyl Riders that are anti-large instead of anti-infantry. Now, that is quite the elite army, I must say. He's going for a Death Star build. So for those of you who don't know, Death Star is essentially where you just blob up your entire army and you just put a bunch of buffs on them and you become invincible. So we're going to have to play around that. Alright, I'm going to be moving up here. I do have the mobility advantage. He very highly lacks in mobility. The only thing that's any bit fast are really the Colossadon Hunters, but the problem is, like, the second they land, I'm going to, like, concave onto them. It's not going to be very, Colossadon Hunters, like, are very good at taking out other air targets and taking out, like, isolated cavalry, isolated lords that are on mounts or such. And, like, yes, my Ancient Stegodon may be isolated, but it's an Ancient Stegodon. It's not going to go down very easily, and it'll take so much time. It'll be a little, just take too much time, and with that time, I can send units to reinforce my Stegodons just in case he swoops down. Now, he does have a very armor heavy, like everything, like 85 armor with us bronze shields, 120, 95, 45, pretty low there, 140, 85, and 85. So my projectiles are not going to be very powerful. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to go for some javelins into the line just to weaken them. I should have saved a few so that for the engagement, so that they get the poison debuff. But I'm going to be focusing my skink skirmishers on the Colossadon Hunters. They only have 45 armor, so they are the most susceptible to my projectiles, and get rid of their what little mobility they have. Now he's here is going to use the ability called the Shield of the Old Ones, which increases their damage resistance by 22%. But as you can see, I see he procs that, and I just walk away. It's not very hard to counter. Oh, he has 22% increased damage resistance. It would be a shame if I just didn't fire at him for that period of time. Unfortunately, there is not much I can do about this Ancient Salamander. My whole game plan here is that I can't really fight. I can't fight him in a head-on battle. This is too much power, and he has so much AoE capabilities that if I fight him and like just kind of swarm him and just engulf him, he's just going to do a Shield of the Old Ones, the greater Shield of the Old Ones. He's going to use Lord Croak's like pizza. He's going to destroy all my low-tier infantry. So I have to slowly weed him out. My skink skirmishers are shooting at the Colossadon Hunters. I've taken out almost half of their health already. And here's the play. He's going to send a solo Stegodon, the Feral Stegodon, into my units, and he's extends his units. And I see this as an opportunity. I'm going to poison him. The poison's going to make him slow. He only has 38 speed, right? And watch this. It's the collapse. I'm going to isolate his units that he sends forward. And now I know this is a trap. He has very large AoE potential, so I'm going to feint it. I send my anti-large into his units, and he's going to cast a spell, right? I realize he's going to cast a spell, and I'm just going to get out of there. Watch this. Well, first of all, he uses the spell Banishment, which is not very efficient against cav units, I would say. Only really efficient against infantry. And this is just a little bit unlucky for him, but the Banishment actually heads into his own Temple Guard, doing very minuscule damage, but still you're wasting your winds and magic for damaging your own units. Not fantastic. So that's a huge loss of his winds and magic for me just being able to... I've lost absolutely nothing. Maybe some ammunition. I've lost some ammunition. And I'm effectively using my ammunition into his Colossadon Hunters. Look at that. Half of their health gone, 25% off this Temple Guard, about 10% here, about 10% here. I'm just whittling them down. He's giving me the opportunity to use all of my ammunition. On the other side, I am giving him the opportunity to use all of his ammunition on the Ancient Salamander, but killing a skink unit that has used most of its ammunition, only half here, but he's killing a skink unit that's not... It's just not important. He should have been focused on my Cold One Spear Riders or try to snipe my Lord. And here again, the Feral Stegodon, I didn't show this very well, but it went rampaging and it just pushed forward. And I was like, I have to punish this. He's going to put down another shield. This is the Supreme Shield of the Old Gods, so it's plus 44 damage resistance. It's a lot, okay? And what do I do again? I run away. I understand that sitting... If any unit is taking 44% damage resistance, I should never fight it. So I'm just going to walk away. He can't catch my units. And it's going to be this game of cat and mouse where I bait, like, hey, you have to use your magical ability, waste your cooldowns, and I'm just going to walk away when you do, because I have the mobility advantage, I have the cav, I have the skinks, which are very quick infantry units, and I have the poison. So I'm just going to continue just shooting into the backsides of these Temple Guards. So when you shoot in the backsides, only 85 armor. It's the least armor of the units, at least on the ground. 85 armor. And the shields, the ability to block 25% of projectiles is negated if you shoot him from behind. Now he's going to go for the push here. Now I know I'm actually going to go for engage here because I'm really itching to use my mighty laser cannons. So I'm going to get sure. I'm going to push up my Star Chamber Guardians, make sure they brace, or I kind of failed in the brace. Now they're braced. Now they're going to fight this Feral Stegodon. Now, Star Chamber Guardians, anti-large, can deal really well with both the Salamander and the Feral Stegodon. Now here's the good play. He does isolate my Stegodon. my Tanoan with the Colossodon Hunters. But I send in the cohort of Sotek to support. Now here's where he's going to go for full Death Star mode here. Let's go into this. Look at all his units. It's just a giant ball. And he's going to use the Lord Croak's ability. What makes Lord Croak's ability so powerful is that it only hits enemy units, and he's going to use the shield. This, I believe, is only the weaker shield of the old ones with only 22% damage. So it's not the 44. And I'm going to go for some rear charges with my Cold Run Riders. It's just a giant fest. He's going to cast another banishment, so he's running very low on the Winds of Magic. And fortunately for me, it goes in the wrong way. And Vortex spells. Now here's what we came to see. These are all of his Temple Guard. Watch this. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the engine of the gods. Completely destroying one unit of Temple Guards, crippling the Stark Chamber Guardians, and they're so grouped up that I gotta use a Flock of Doom, and it'll hit everybody. Now, I understand that Flock of Doom is not amazing against armored targets, but it's still value that is accruing. And this is the value I'm talking about, the cohort of Sotek. Even though they're not doing too much damage, not getting many kills, they can hold forever since they are unbreakable, and they refuse to die, which I love that ability. So they're just not losing models. The enemy does have a unit of Temple Guard that are isolated, so I'm going to make sure I charge into them with my Cold One Spirit Riders, and I have a duel of Star Chamber Guardians versus his normal Temple Guardians, and of course, my Star Chamber Guardians will win. He does use a Lord Croak spell on my Star Chamber Guardians, but luckily they move out of the way. Only a few models get hit, and this is just a fest. It just turns into a grind fest, except I have spent most of my resources, and oh, here comes another shield, and unfortunately, I'm not sure. I can't sure if I remember if I stick it out. I think I just walk out again because I realize that this shield, like he's stacking both shields. That is 66% damage resistance, and I realize, yeah, this is not good for me. So I walk out. My Stegodons walk out. My Saurus, my Spear Riders, they're having a little time. They get a little stuck in there. But I move all my units out because fighting in that kind of condition is just not worth it for me. All right. So the battle is in my favor. The balance of power is still in my favor, but like, look how much power. Even though taking out so many of his Temple Guard, he still has like he has a chance of winning, so at least in terms of balance of power. So he's going to be chasing my units. My Cold One Spirit Riders running. They kind of went on rampage, so they stayed in the bubble of 66% damage reduction, which is not great. But here's amazing: his Temple Guard are broken. And he's like, look how many models are left here. It's a lot. They may have low HP, but that's a lot of models, and that's a lot of potential damage. So what I do is I send my skinks over. Like my skink cohorts with javelins, very low damage. But I need to show this. Now what that was aimed at was the enemy, the last unit of enemy, or called Temple Guard, the Regent Renowned version, the Star Chamber Guardians. So with that, I did 3 laser beams. I didn't use the last one because he didn't have enough infantry to really target. And look, he uses another Croak spell. It doesn't really affect him. I'm going to send in my own Stegodons to finish this battle, and I'll be using my overwhelming numbers to just chase down the Temple Guard. Like full health skink unit chasing down a Temple Guard. Yeah, I'll take that trade every day. My skirmishers have almost used all of their ammo. My skinks have definitely used all their ammo. And I believe this is just going to be the end of the game. His Colossodon Hunters go down. And Lord Mazdamundi has a duel with my Stegodon to Henuan. Oh, he does have one last. God, this is such an annoying spell. His army comp is probably one of the lowest micro army comps that I've ever fought, and I've seen a lot. Except obviously this player was a little experimental. Oh, another shield. Okay, a little more experimental in that he brought like the Ripperdactyl Riders and the Stegodon, because most players just they spam Temple Guard, they get Lord Croak, and they get a Red Crescent Skink Chief. Here's Lord Croak. Oof. it's the grind fest. And we will win this battle. Alright, let's go look at our efficiency. Look at this. We had 1,366 deployed and lost 641. That's quite a lot. And he only deployed 316. And he lost pretty much all his units. Whew. Talk about elite. Now, how did 10-1 do? 20 kills. Not too great, but he did his job. He used his magic. He reduced their melee attack with the lore of Wild. I have my cohort of Sotek doing well, just blobbing them up, making sure they don't leave, and allowing for amazing blasts from the Engine of the Gods. My Star Chamber Guardians actually got destroyed because fighting 3 other Temple Guards, especially against Lord Croak and Lord Mazdamuni. These are my really low mobility units, so they just got blasted by Lord Croak. Then my skinks did really well, 34, 10, 4, 8. Now these are low numbers, but against an army of 316, that's a lot. That's one skink unit, that's 10% of their army right there. And the skink skirmishers, while doing low damage, they did their job. They did so much damage to the Temple Guard and the Colossadon Hunters. While not taking out models, they took down their hit points like a charm. And the Cold One Spear Riders, my anti-large in my army, both. That's 20%. That's over 20% of their army right there, and just 2 units. And the mighty Ancient Stegon. This was the Engine of the God proc, the laser beam, the Mac Blast that did 92 kills. Oh man, that's what happens when you have you blob up your elite infantry. Well, guys, I hope you liked the video, and if you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want more. I'm going to be pumping out some more videos while I have some free time in Spain, and I guess I'll catch you later, guys.